Welcome everyone to the PYRESWAP show for another Wisdom Wednesday. And today's wisdom is do not touch the fucking McAfee AI coin thing. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. I know that like before, like last week, I was saying, hey, if I can possibly fix it depending how bad this is. Me fixing it still requires me to get a certain amount of control over it. Does that make sense? And right now, I am one of many people that are in fact trying to persuade somebody who apparently woke up with a lot of risk appetite. Okay? And point being is that every single day on my end, I'm receiving new data of its scamminess. In fact, it seems that they're not even burning their liquidity. It seems that what's actually happening, and here I'll post this in the chat, and this is just another example of Solana's scamminess, is that on Solana, you can have one wallet be the proxy controller of another wallet. Therefore, you can make it look like wallet 2 is burning liquidity, but they're really not burning liquidity. They're fucking funneling the money out the back door to wallet 1, which is then holding the money. Okay, so first of all, my opinion on Solana remains unchanged. Now, the goal was, if I could get control over this, we could end up making it some type of capital bridge project, I don't fucking know, to other chains, like maybe Phantom Opera or AVAX, or chains that fucking matter, right? Like chains that have PYRESWAP built on them, right? Anyways, right now there is a successor. How do I describe this? There is a challenge to the succession of John McAfee's social media assets. Now, earlier today, in fact, less than an hour ago, I was showing my administrative control of these assets to the Centered Circus. I see that Trigger Happy is here. So Trigger Happy, if he's in general chat, and you guys don't know this, Trigger Happy may or may not have seen me demonstrate that I have control over John McAfee's Facebook. The reason I have control over John McAfee's Facebook is because someone named Tiffany Madison gave me control over it because she had cancer. In fact, she was dying of cancer. She died of cancer in 2024. So Tiffany was always the person that John would trust to manage his social media. Does that make sense? Because of such, the John McAfee Foundation, which was really something that Tiffany was putting together, was always meant to end up with full control of social media. I can prove that while Tiffany was trusted with John McAfee's Facebook, Janice never was. The only time Janice was ever in control of John McAfee's Twitter was when he went to jail. But at other times, Tiffany controlled John McAfee's Twitter. In fact, I believe that was an account she started. I only have her story on that being true or not, but I just don't, it is what it is. Anyways, I am now, after settling, watching the dust settle, I am now going to get completely back to focusing on PYRESWAP, especially learnpyreswap.com, right? Have you guys heard about that? Have you guys heard about PYRESWAP and learnpyreswap.com? Possibly? Okay, fantastic. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, Cynical, since you asked yesterday, that project still has scam code galore. Like, there is only more scammy shit being found about the Solana meme coin. The real situation is so very precarious because anyways, the John McAfee meme coin fiasco did in fact distract me for about 5 or 6 days, just to be honest with you. I had to make that the priority one and deal with that. I was able to make some progress on learnpyreswap.com during that time, but maybe only like 10% of what I normally would be able to do. Anyways, at the end of today, I'm only going to be laser focused on learnpyreswap.com. Does that make sense? Like, I'm going to just like bum rush the completion of it. Not bum rush it. I've actually been working on it over a long time, but I'm just going to button it all up and fucking get it going. Does that make sense? because we can always improve it later on once we have like the modules. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So like we're going to just, I'm gonna bum rush yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'm just gonna bum rush the completion of it so that we have like an MVP of it. Does that make sense? That appear to do what's needed, and then if certain videos need to be reshot or whatever, we'll fucking solve that problem later. I'm gonna I've been demonstrating the interview strategy as well, or at least alluding to it in anyways. So a guy named Electronic DM'd me yesterday with a bunch of questions. So I'm going to answer Electronic's questions for you guys today during the show. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the DMs and I'm going to go see all the questions he asked me, because I'm going to assume that if Electronic had these questions, maybe other people do as well. So I'm going to answer them all. And yeah. Okay. Yeah, by the way, we're still going to make it. We're still going to make it. I still have the ability to use John McAfee's social media to market PYRESWAP. Naturally, there will need to be a bit of a cooldown because John McAfee's social media was just used to market a fucking scam. Does that make sense to you guys? So, like, I want you to understand, it was never my goal to lean on that. I likely wouldn't have been using John McAfee's social media to market this shit until we were, like, in the Vibratile range already. Does that make sense? Like, this project needs to be strong enough that it wasn't waiting for John McAfee's social media to give it the lift it needed, okay? Do you guys get what I'm saying? Because there was never any guarantee that I was going to get access to his Twitter, because when Janice was in Spain, there was always a chance that she would have gotten fucking murdered or something. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, that was always kind of up in the air. But it is what it is. Anyways, are you guys ready to hear Electronic's questions and my answers to them? Downing beers? No. This is sparkling water. So if you guys want to know what I'm drinking on the show, it is always sparkling water. Yeah. Meh. Okay. It's not thrilled. Well, okay. His questions were pretty good ones, and he just wanted to know what the fuck was going on. Because I imagine you guys, in general, your questions are, what the fuck is going on, Fives, right? Okay, so I want you guys to know that in 2024, we launched the Genesis for a project called PYRESWAP. Were you guys aware? Okay, we were pre-marketing the Genesis, and then during the Genesis, we learned a lot about what marketing is and what marketing isn't. Okay, between September 6th and December 6th, I had to have my own journey of learning marketing. Does that make sense? So September 6th was the day that we finally squeeze tapered the emissions, and December 6th was 3 months later, was the day we launched How to Tell When to Sell. Does that make sense to you guys? September 6th to December 6th. These are two key dates in 2024 for this project, okay? When I was squeeze tapering the emissions, I was spinning this as a positive, but what I was really kind of saying was, hey, Genesis having high APRs is not marketing the project. In fact, all it's doing is crashing the chart. So we're going to stop doing that now, because I clearly have a really high risk appetite that scares the fuck out of people. But the good news is that this project can't die anyways, right? Not everybody was used to learning this way, right? Not everybody was used to my level of risk tolerance. But December 6th, by December 6th, I had read, I don't know, a good few marketing books. And now I've read over 10, right? I've read between 10 and 50 marketing books. Maybe 11, maybe 13, depending how you ask. But the point being is now we really have like a real strategy for marketing. That real strategy is marketing funnels, which is used for marketing everything on the internet to human beings. Does that make sense? This is the system that works on the internet to human beings. We don't have to copy other Web3 projects. We can actually just realize, oh, hey, everybody who we're looking for is a human being. We'll just use something that's human applicable, not crypto applicable. Does that make sense? I promise you it'll be fine. Anyways, learnpyreswap.com. I have zero interest in half-assing it. I have only an interest in getting it right, and getting it right as fuck. I have written stories for it that have been thrown out fucking completely and redone. In fact, videos 6 through 9 were pretty much all done, threw them all out because I realized I needed to write it around a main protagonist, because that is actually what installs better in human brains. Okay? So the point being there is, the point being there is, and then last week, a meme coin on Solana was launched and endorsed with John McAfee's Twitter, which is controlled by his wife, who was in fact a mentally ill person. Okay? We don't like saying that because we believe that John McAfee was murdered. So therefore, painting her to be mentally ill doesn't help make her testimony valid. Do you guys get it? I didn't want to say this on stream, yeah. Okay, anyways, the point being here is that his Twitter account is being used to continue to endorse this token, but like kind of not. It's more about being endorsed. It's more about endorsing the chatbot. But people in crypto think the chatbot and the token are like connected. Do you guys know what I mean? You guys know they're not, right? But when it comes to marketing, nobody figures that out. Yep. Anyways, yeah, so somebody created an LLM that resembles John McAfee. Anyways, they also were able to pitch this to Janice and get her to endorse it with John McAfee's account. They launched a scammy ass meme coin because that's the fucking narrative set up by, Mark Andreessen's GOAT project, right? About the AI, right? The meme coin that has an AI behind it or whatever, right? So that's now been done to keep John McAfee alive as a fucking chatbot. The meme coin has something to do with the chatbot, but, there was a $100 million pump and dump orchestrated, during which it seems like insiders dumped and squeezed out about $3 million from retail. Does that make sense? That is just the nature of the beast. Anyways, the common theme in my life is that nobody knows how to analyze shit, and I just need to teach more people to analyze. Yeah, oof indeed, Seabiscuit, because that's like a $100 million amount of damage done to John McAfee's brand. Does that make sense? And believe it or not, my friend Tiffany, who's dead, like, I owe it to her to fight to protect John McAfee's reputation. You guys know what I mean? You know what's funny? I was the first person to talk Janice into tweeting something on John's account after he died. Right? I was the first person that had to like get her to do that and think it was okay. Not enough time to research. You know what? Senegal. I think it's like, again, when you think about research and stuff like that, and again, what you're talking about there is research doesn't need to be as hard as crypto makes it, because crypto makes it so goddamn confusing. There can in fact be like again, if you've heard me talk about this, TRB against TRS, right? Utilizer to speculator ratio. Like, these are things that you can look at not too deep. Does that make sense? I've done them on the whiteboard here, I don't know, 10 times. Have you guys heard me talk about TRB and TRS and UTSR? So the point being here is that there are these bite-sized pieces of fundamental analysis that you don't need to spend an hour to figure them out. Does that make sense? I've literally, it's like, it might be like 5 math problems to get the UTSR, right? It might be like a reading of the documentation to get the TRB versus TRS. But you can at least, if you have the framework to think about TRB and TRS, you can do the math in your head, right? You can be like, okay, instead of being a type 3 user, you can be a type 2 user. Does that make sense? I think that what type 3 users want to be is type 2 users. Does that make sense? Well, why so cynical? Learn PYRESWAP.com and Pyre.info, and really my workload through 2025 is me doing scripted and rehearsed videos where I teach these like bite-sized concepts, and if I ever need to teach like larger concepts, I'm literally writing fantasy fiction stories to deliver them to people so that it can be installed through a System 1 modality. I know I sound like I'm gibberish again, but like I had to really go deep to figure out the solution to my problem here, because this is a very unique problem to have, but I did find it, and it is in fact, everything about it looks like it will work phenomenally. I have very little reason to believe that we're not going to knock us out of the fucking park now, because the level of, when we were marketing before, it was like, okay, how do I describe this? Ideas have a ranking, okay? Ideas have a ranking. Low-ranking ideas, you can think of them as whims. Does that make sense? We'll call them whims. Here, I'm going to do it with the... And up here, a high-ranking one. High-ranking ideas are called blueprints. Does that make sense? If I use these two words, do you guys understand that ideas, based on the amount of detail they have, bad ideas, like whims are shitty ideas to implement, but blueprints are great ideas to implement. Do you guys know why? Because the level of detail in a blueprint increases your chance of successfully implementing the idea. Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? Do you guys know what I mean? For an idea of a whim, think about like watching 10-year-old boys throw rocks at a school bus. They literally have an impulsive idea in their head, and they're like, hey, what happens if I throw a rock at the bus? And they just go do it. Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? Metaphorically? For an idea of a blueprint, I'm talking about a fucking blueprint. Make sense? Like, you know, this is how you build a fucking house. Make sense? Right? So, everything we were doing in 2024 for marketing, it was a collection of whims. I mean, okay, up until December when we started doing How to Tell When to Sell. How to Tell When to Sell was built from a very simplistic blueprint. Does that make sense? Literally create some type of lead magnet copy that addresses a pain point, imply a solution is found there, and see if people click it. Guess what, guys? People click it. People click it on fucking Twitter. In fact, we even have reason to believe they clicked the button at the bottom, which made them join our Discord. Does that make sense to you guys? So what the fuck was I trying to do back then? I was trying to see if I could get people to click two things in a row. Because before I try to get people to buy my fucking token, I need to see if I can even get them to listen to me. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Because if I looked at the numbers, from all of the pre-Genesis marketing, they were so bad. My conversion rate was like 0.1% or lower. So if I talked to 1,000 people who heard me, maybe one of them would care to even look. Do you guys know what I mean? My numbers were on the floor. And the reason why is because there are these two classic mistakes in marketing. And one of them is you make your shit too confusing for people to understand why they would want it. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but that's all we did. In fact, PYRESWAP.com, like our landing page, that is even too informative. So later on, we will be redesigning our landing page too, but that won't happen until learnPYRESWAP.com. Does that make sense? How to Tell When to Sell gave us a real, I guess you would say, light at the end of the tunnel. Because, by the way, now we knew what our unique value add was that people in crypto would care about. And what was that? How to tell when to sell. Duh, right? Because no other project offers that, right? Everybody here is thinking about getting to pay. Does that make sense? Right? Like, not only the idea that the number goes up, but then there's another form of money in prints that shows up. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Right? We hyperinflated, and I said, hey, by the way, this is part of marketing, at least now, because now we can fucking market it on speculation. We turned decay off, and that really meant that we expected people to want to hold it. Does that make sense? Like I was in fact re-strategizing, but I wasn't just pulling shit out of my ass. Does that make sense? Anyways, all this and the above, it's only made this product storyline more interesting, because in order for us to prove that we are in fact a paradigm shift in crypto, it makes sense that we would be coming into the public eye against the backdrop of a bunch of scammy ass meme coins, and two, us being able to survive stuff that would destroy a much weaker project. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, this project has been able to survive. Oh, by the way, did you guys know that today is the 3rd year of the Centigrade Circus? Did you guys know that? So the Centigrade Circus is 3 years old, which is crazy. That's like a toddler. This is like my child. Yeah, so the Centigrade Circus is 3 years old. And I want you guys to know we're going to hit our 4th birthday, and our 5th birthday, and our 6th birthday. Do you guys get what I'm saying? We're not going to get any younger. We're only going to get older. So, I think what the Centigrade Circus now has, by the way, is we now understand marketing in an area where nobody in crypto understands marketing. Does that make sense? We actually built a project around the user, but I didn't know how to tell the user that until fucking December of last year. I know it's embarrassing to say out loud, but that is actually what happened. I had no idea how to tell somebody what I did for them until literally like 6 weeks ago. Do you guys get it? Like, that's why it was my own transformation. Like, oh my God, I now know what I've been doing wrong. I have been jargon blasting 4-syllable words at people because economics as a fucking discipline is just filled with jargon. Does that make sense? That, like, I have an economics dictionary here, and it's just like, brrr, like it's the most jargonistic shit in the world. Okay. Also, like, it's a high concept, so like, you know, Keynesian beauty contest or Say's law or like Gresham's law. It's like, this is the most concept shit in the world, and it's a lot for people to fucking digest. So I had to think about, like, okay, what's the most bite-sized way to teach economics? And what we're gonna do now with learnPyResWap.com is actually, it's truly a public good, because people can learn economics through the story of Fergus Fenbrook, and they'll be better off for it, like, for the rest of their fucking life. Does that make sense? Like, anybody who actually goes through all 10 videos of learnPyResWap.com, like, they'll be better off for the rest of their fucking life. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, they will make more money in their life. They will lose less money in their life, right? They will be less blindsided by the way that markets react to things. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, they can, in fact, apply this stuff on learnPyResWap.com. Not just the PYRESWAP, but, like, their fucking life. Anyways, we now have a blueprint for marketing now. Does that make sense? So no more fucking whims, okay? Us doing marketing from whims is an insult to the greatness of this project. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Great projects need great marketing. Otherwise, they're not great projects. Or should I say, nobody will know they're great projects. Which, as you guys know, is just as bad. No, the math guy should not be anywhere near the LearnPyResWap website. Yeah, we will have no math on LearnPyResWap. Holy shit, no. None. Yeah. In fact, anybody who's a math guy is not allowed to be told about LearnPyResWap. I don't think you understand what LearnPyResWap is. Yeah. Yeah, there is no math needed to, yeah, there is no math. Okay, here are the things that we teach on LearnPyResWap through storytelling. Investing and gambling are different. Then we learn that abundance and scarcity are different. Then we learn that value is subjective. Then we learn what supply and demand are, which is also no math, right? Then we learned, let's see, after supply and demand, I don't have the fucking list with me. Yeah, there's no math. There is no math to learn. Yeah, if the word cosine or sine or any type of, if there is any equation at all on Learn PYRESWAP, we will fail. We will fail. That is not marketing, electronic. System 1. It is, okay, I realize this is too much to go through. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah, electronic. LearnPyreswap.com is not going to, okay. That shit does not market, electronic. Yeah. The reason we have not been marketing in the past is because I have been fire hosing math at people. Don't do that at all. Never do that. Okay? Yeah. The math will be in the docs. If they want to learn the math, they can go to the docs. But they first need to be motivated to want to go read the docs. Make sense? Yeah, we will never put math in a fucking video. I mean, I don't think we would do anything more than like, I could do UTSR demos and shit like that, but that wouldn't even be on learnpyreswap.com. That would still be like beyond learnpyreswap.com. So I could do the TRB, TRS shit, but that would still not be learnpyreswap.com. Yeah. Electronic, I don't think you understand how stupid we need to make learnpyreswap.com. Yeah. Yes, this is true, but electronic, the existing users don't know how it works. So how about I just teach them how it works? Does that make sense? Instead of you guys just seeing a bunch of fancy math and be like, oh, wow, I don't need that at all. I need you to understand how it works. Why so cynical? As soon as possible, but I really have to let you know, there is always the chance that something fucking catastrophic will happen, apparently. That could happen tomorrow, it could happen today. That might cause another delay. Does that make sense? Because I was trying to be like going to YouTube interviews by now. Does that make sense? I was expecting to be on yeah, exactly. I'll tell you this. I still think that we could be days to weeks away from fucking interviews. But like, I just lost about 6 days due to fucking this McAfee fiasco. Just being honest. So like, that was a 6-day fucking goddamn delay. Thank you, electronic. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Electronic. Okay. What you're describing, electronic, where the math guy, you're talking about Koyas, right? Koyas, by the way, is not on Discord too often. He's like a Telegram guy or some shit. Does that make sense? He just came to Discord because he liked the project, did the math, and then like, he is like, you know what I mean? He's not on Discord very often. Just being honest, he's not on Discord very often. The point being here is that like, his involvement was making that paper, and then that's it. He's an investor. Does that make sense? He's an investor that did research. Yeah. Other than that, he did not have time to do anything else. I asked him, why did you have time to do the math? And he's like, because it's fun to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. But there's not any more math for him to do. Do you get what I'm saying? He did all the math he needed to do. It's not like, now there's more math for me to do. There isn't. Do you get what I'm saying? We're not rolling out new things that he needs to do math on. Does that make sense? So like, he was just an investor like you, and he just happens to enjoy doing math, which, by the way, that's not shit that I fucking do. Does that make sense? I don't like that's fucking wild to me. I think it's cool that he did it for the sake of conviction, but electronic, I'm not trying. Okay. People don't need to see that. Yeah, they don't need to see what Koyas did. It's cool if we have what Koyas did in the documentation. Does that make sense? He did give me permission to use it, right? But only people who go to the documentation are going to see that. Do you guys know what I mean? Right? So like, first of all, let's realize that we have to get way stupider. Stupider. Because electronic, I've been blasting equations since April of 2022. You can ask somebody. Yeah. I've been blasting equations all over Discord for years. That's not what markets it. Okay. Electronic, have you heard me talk about type 1, type 2, and type 3 users? No, electronic, less. Somewhere between meme coin stupidity and Koyas level calculus. Why does that go? Great question. It requires very little analysis, and it uses volume bots for FOMO. So it has quick decisions, and then it grabs people by their emotions and their gambling impulsive. Does that make sense? But the good news is, Every time someone loses money on a meme coin, they become more dissatisfied with them. Do you guys know who we're marketing to? We're marketing to people who lose money on meme coins because they don't understand what the problem is. And the problem is they're gambling, not investing. You will see us use that language a lot. Okay, so electronic, have you heard me talk about type 1? Have you guys heard me talk about these 3 type of users? Okay, this is a great piece of Five-Unionism. In fact, this is another good example of bite-sized fundamental analysis. Does that make sense? This is another great example of like a bite-sized fundamental analysis. So electronic, a long time ago, there was a project called Bitcoin. In fact, I hear that today, in the shadows, it's still around. Are you guys aware of Bitcoin? Fantastic. So glad to hear you guys have heard of it. When Bitcoin was marketed, it was marketed as a system for peer-to-peer payments. Yeah, anonymous dev. Scammy, kind of scammy, right? Anyways, type 1 user, like the type 1 user is somebody who was, in fact, using Bitcoin to buy drugs from Ross Ulbricht on Silk Road. Does that make sense? That's a type 1 user, right? They go to Satoshi. Satoshi gives them the Bitcoin for their electricity, right? They take the Bitcoin over to Ross Ulbricht and they buy the heroin on Silk Road. Okay, that's a type 1 user for Bitcoin. I'm kidding. I support Ross Ulbricht's freedom. Yeah, cynical. Do you know? Oh no, he's free now. He's free now. Oh, why cynical? I don't know if you know this. In 2015, me and my roommates spent 2 Bitcoin a month on drugs. We had miners in our office that were like free, and these miners were, making 2 Bitcoin a month. We would take paper wallets and give them to drug dealers, and literally he was accepting 2 Bitcoin. Yeah. Anyways, if I tell people I used to spend 2 Bitcoin a month on drugs, it sounds crazy. It's like, you spent 200 grand a month on drugs? It's like, no. At the time, this was like $500. You know what I mean? It was like some weed and some pills. You know what I mean? Anyways, yeah. That was like what we would get from these drug dealers, and like, oh hey, yeah, that was just what it was. Anyways, okay. So the type 1 user is the person who's using Bitcoin to buy drugs from Silk Road. Okay? That's a type 1 user, meaning Bitcoin is solving their problem. They're not using Bitcoin to get rich. There you go, electronic. They're not using Bitcoin to get rich. They're using Bitcoin to buy drugs. Does that make sense to you guys? They're using it for its use case. They're using Bitcoin for its use case. Do you guys understand? Yeah, or at least crack, right? Electronic, or I'm kidding. Okay, we're all going to make. Okay, a type 2 user. A type 2 user is somebody who is a hodler. Does that make sense? Anybody who is a hodler for Bitcoin, do you know why they're a hodler? Yes, exactly. Yes, cynically, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, Silk Road was like the big first thing where I was like, hey, you can use Bitcoin here. Or do you remember the Pirate Bay? The pirate, the like websites like the Pirate Bay and shit like that? Yeah, exactly. So anything in that, the dark web loved Bitcoin, right? Even though it's not private, I'm not going to get into that right now. But yes, all internet drug dealing, yeah. All of the internet drug dealing was Bitcoin's main use case. Yep, exactly. Now the type 2 user, the type 1 user for Bitcoin is a Silk Roader, okay? The type 2 user is the hodler. Does that make sense? They're like, I'm going to hold. Why are they going to hold? Why does the type 2 user hold? He's going to hold because he knows that the type 1 user is using it. Does that make sense? He's like, hey, as long as I know that Why So Cynical is buying cocaine off of Silk Road, Dr. Mac is able to hold Bitcoin speculatively. Does that make sense? Dr. Mac is watching Why So Cynical buy cocaine from Ross Ulbricht, and therefore Dr. Mac is basically holding Bitcoin. Do you guys understand? Because he's like, as long as Why So Cynical keeps buying cocaine, this token is valuable. And you know what? As long as once more people learn you can buy cocaine with it, they're gonna want this thing even more. Make sense to you guys? Make sense? Right? Do you guys get it? Okay. Now, type 1 user watches the product itself. The type 2 user is watching the type 1 user use the product. Does that make sense? Do you guys know who the type 3 user is? Okay. The type 3 user has no fucking idea what Bitcoin is used for. Yeah, they are in fact just the stampeder gambler. Yeah, calling them a trader is even is a bit much. Yeah, I would say this is a person that is in fact stampeding into a pump. Yeah, to call them a trader is still like at best Seabiscuit. Yeah, they are trading a pattern, and they're most likely looking for a pump and dump. Does that make sense? Right? Okay, so the point being is, Koyus for PYRESWAP, he's like a type 2 user who's analyzing what type 1 users are doing. Does that make sense? So Koyus, the math guy, by the way, Dr. Mac is also a type 2 user, but who do you have as type 1 users? You've got the channelers, right? I know Maddie, right? Maddie still plays the IWV, right? I know there's a good dozen of you that still do. Does that make sense? Because the type 1 users, as long as there's always a reason to play the IWV, which by the way, it does pump out money, as long as they do that, and as long as the supply is contracting, but the demand is increasing, the type 2 user realizes, wait a minute, if supply is consistently contracting and demand is always increasing, then probabilistically what's going to happen to the price? Correct. Now, does it always go up? No. But it's like having a coin toss that's biased towards one face. It's like having loaded dice. Does that make sense? And like, as it happens, the dice loads grow. I don't know. That metaphor is weird, but I'll figure out something for later. The type 3 user has no fucking idea how the IWV works. Does that make sense? Do you know who we got from the Genesis? Type 3 users. And the fact of the matter is we actually need to teach people to be type 1 and type 2 users. We do not need more type 1 users. We just need more people who understand we need more people who understand the basic bitch econ behind the IWV. Because by the way, it's econ 101. I did not do... We're going to have fucking credit card NFTs in phase 5 of this project. I promise you, I would not bring that out as the first phase 1 project. You guys get what I'm saying? The IWV is basic bitch econ 101. Supply and demand. Supply. You guys get what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is, we have not made it easy for people to realize that. So before we bring people into PYRESWAP, we actually need to bring them through a brochure for PYRESWAP that teaches them about PYRESWAP before they get to PYRESWAP. Type 3 users do not help us at all. They will only pump and dump. Does that make sense to you guys? We need to get to the vibratile range. In order for us to really get to the vibratile range and stay in the vibratile range, we need to saturate type 1 and type 2 users. Type 3 users will show up no matter what as soon as the price chart goes going up. Does that make sense? Type 3 users will show up as soon as the chart is moving at a rate that accelerates at a speed that gets their heart rate going. They can't not throw their money in. Does that make sense? But in order to make that happen, we need to actually get type 1 and type 2 users. And really, we're good on type 1 users. You only need 2 of them per epoch per chain. Because as long as there's 2 people playing, smoldering is always happening. Do you guys get what I'm saying? I know on the yellow and red chains, you have these scenarios where there's 0 users or 1 user, 0 users or 1 user, right? And those are in fact dysfunctional. Does that make sense? Point being is, we're gonna drive all the traffic to Phantom because one, we can save the Phantom Opera by doing this, and two, people will be able to draw their own conclusions, like, oh, hey, they also have it on AVAX. I'm going to go there now. Does that make sense? Like, stampeding people in through one chain is plenty good. Does that make sense? And, okay, so what I'm saying to you, Electronic, is Koyus is a type 2 user because he really figured out all the math behind what type 1 users are doing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Koyus, the guy who did the calculus, he is a type 2 user. So I know that, so what I'm saying is Electronic is saying Koyus posting the math made a lot of type 3 users feel better about investing. I don't want you to be a type 3 user. I want you to be a type 2 user. So I need to teach you the shit that Koyus figured out, but I'm not going to teach it to you through calculus. Does that make sense? Believe me, lots of people understood how this worked before Koyus showed up. Does that make sense? Dr. Mac, would you say that you learned anything from Koyus? I mean, it might have been bullish to see that somebody actually did prove it, but I don't think your understanding of it came from that fucking paper, right? Did anybody else? I know why so cynical. He was playing it like the whole way. Like, I know you understood it before Koyus too, right? So like, what I'm gonna say is, having him post more math, it's the same math. Like, it's like he's not gonna do more math on the project. He already did all the math. Make sense? The fact that there is Electronic, nobody knows how to read his shit anyway. You know what I mean? Oh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But arguably, why so cynical? I don't care about that at all because that's only about the Phantom Opera. Does that make sense? Yeah. No. The only thing that will get type 2s is learnprice.com. We will not get type 2s from anything other than learnprice.com. Harry Ye. Okay. Why so cynical? Harry Ye does not understand Tomb Finance. So I am not going to find any type 2s in his project. The guy who runs the project does not understand it. Yeah. All he can do is help me create a narrative around saving Phantom Opera. That is all he can give me. The only way that this project will get type 2s is learnPyreswap.com. Nothing else. There is not a YouTuber. There is not a thing. It is all on us to create type 2s. Yes, exactly. No. Electronic, I can't fucking... He did not simplify shit. Yeah, he did not simplify shit. Yeah, I had to simplify it using like clear, bitch, basic language. And the way I have to do it, the way that I simplify Electronic is I have to teach supply and demand in a storyline. I'm not fucking joking. But yes, that is in fact what needs to happen. The good news is it's only Econ 101. It's only Econ 101 and like a few various other fucking things. Exactly, yeah. But why so cynical? The decay being on was also making it too laborious for people to decide to buy it. Do you get what I'm saying? The idea of decay alone was keeping people in this like state of confusion. Does that make sense? It's okay. Cynical, I'm holding the same token. Okay, I'm holding the same fucking token. But the point being is that when we turned decay off, I was betting on the user base learning it. Now I have to realize I had the ability to control that the whole time by actually just making a fucking video curriculum. Yeah. LearnPyreswap.com is a series of videos. Yeah. So people learn better this way, and this is a way that I can teach concepts in a sequence while slowly building trust by being on camera. Then when I finally get them to, this is the right way to market, is all I'm going to say. Yeah. It's not about, we are not trying to just like randomly grab something and throw it. We're not doing this anymore, okay? So like, to be honest, getting Harry Ye to make type 2s, I would put that in the whim category. Do you understand what I'm saying? No offense, but that is a whim, okay? That is not a blueprint. Do you guys understand? The only thing Harry Ye can help me with, if he wants to, is we can create a narrative around saving Phantom Opera. Right, exactly. And also, the fact that Tomb, 2-Ohm, and 3-Ohm could reunite again would be so fucking, that would be a nostalgia fest. Do you guys know what I mean? However, I need to teach Harrier how to fix his fucking project now, don't I? Yeah. Really, I would be more interested in acquiring it, right? But the point being here is all Harrier can help me with is the Save the Phantom Opera like narrative. Does that make sense? There is nobody over there that is going to understand terminal utility or supply and demand. Harrier himself is like, I'm not going to insult him. Does that make sense? But like, yeah, he can't, there aren't any type 2s to be had there. Yeah. I'm just being honest. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, because 2 ohm is itself a gigantic project, we've had better ability at demonstrating our concept over on the yellow chain, right? On BNB, on BSC. And it's like, it's kind of funny that even on another chain, everyone's like, well, why isn't it happening on blue chain? It's like, Dibs was like a $2 million project. 2 ohm was a $500 million project. It will take two, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, this is, again, very simple fundamental analysis. Anyways, do you have any questions? I hope that today was enlightening. But the point being here is, yeah, so getting people to understand is not that hard. I had to really just think about, like, what is the first thing people need to understand? I also need to think about what is the thing that all of my user base understands. Like crypto, everyone in crypto must know the word invest and they must know the word gamble. Does that make sense? They must know those 2 words. Therefore, I have to think about how to tell when to sell. That must also be something they understand, right? Because for me to like imagine and empathize, okay, when I talk about economics, it's like riding a bike to me. I don't fucking like use System 2. I'm in an emotional state. It's like muscle memory to me. I'm not trying to sound like I'm bragging. I'm just saying I have had this stuff so internal for so long that I could not really imagine what it's like to not know these things. Because my whole lens of the world is through my economics knowledge. Do you guys know what I mean? I view the world as an economist. So like when I open my eyes, it's like it's already terrazos and fucking supply and demand curves, right? So like I had to think about like other people don't see the world like this. Okay, what do they know? And then how do I give them a trail of breadcrumbs to the point where they can understand things like inflation and deflation? Because all the IWV is like deflation, 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 right? And it's just a consistent event that causes a variable amount of deflation. By the way, we have elastic supply and elastic demand. Do you guys understand what I mean about that? I don't know if we need to make elasticity in Learn PYRESWAP, but it will be in pyre.info. Elastic supply means that sometimes supply goes down, then other things. Okay, so for Pyre Phantom has a contraction vector, which is known as smoldering, right? Hey, have a good day. So Pyre Phantom supply gets smaller through smoldering. But what makes Pyre Phantom supply go up? Supply also will expand. When will it expand? Exactly. So the point being here is that supply can go up, but it can also go down, right? Now for the demand on it is all based on volume. And the thing is, there's always volume, but it's a variable amount. So the point being here is when you see that one round there's 15 players in the IWV and the next round there's 5, it's like that doesn't fucking matter. It's meant to be up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down. Does that make sense to you guys? Because we don't control how much volume is coming from Bitcoin or the price of Ethereum or things like that. It just means that there's always a demand, but it's elastic. Do you guys know what I'm saying? There's always a minimum amount of demand, but like it can also go way fucking high. We're not trying to get fucking 8,000 people to fucking like slam into it because it'll be so fucking confusing that the amount of bad optics from that. If people understand how the IWV works, that will be enough to get them to try to play it. But we don't need everybody playing it all the time. We deliberately spread it out 4 times a day so that you fucking couldn't do this. Why So Cynical was the only guy doing this, right? Like, we made it difficult to get to. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Demand goes up and it goes down, and supply goes up and it goes down. And that's how we end up in the volatile range. That's all I'm saying. So supply is elastic because there are things that make it go up, there are things that make it go down. Demand is also elastic because when it's a high volatility and high volume day, that will also create demand for Pyre Phantom, which then gets spread out, right? But then also when the market is sideways and boring, it'll also be a low demand day. Do you guys get it? But that doesn't mean that it ever stops supply or demand. As long, again, we need to have a minimum amount of TVL per chain in order to have the minimum incentive necessary to click the button. But like once that TVL is configured, and I don't even know if it is or it isn't, I know on Phantom it probably is, then the system then the game just keeps getting played. Does that make sense? Winter or summer. Make sense? This is meant to be winter proof. So what I mean to say is we don't need like a bum rush of people as more. I think that the curves that people are looking for in crypto, those are actually dysfunctional curves, which we're not trying to create here. Anyways, I'm going to end the show now because we've been going on for a minute. But that's what I mean about elastic supply and elastic demand. Like you don't need to always have a higher amount of people playing. Like it's okay for the amount to be lower as well. Because anyways, yeah, the number just needs to not be 0 or 1. The only bad numbers on the IWV for player count are 0, because it means it's fucking locked up, or 1. And why is 1 bad? Do you guys know why 1 is bad? One player is bad because it means no smoldering occurs. Do you guys get it? You may be saying, oh, but it's tiny. Yeah. But it's about it being consistent. Yeah, okay? You guys get it? All right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. Goodbye.